So I flew into Saigon International Airport a couple of weeks ago. Had a simple transfer flight up to Cam Ranh, Vietnam. I had come in from Cambodia. Uh, Saigon, I lived there like 10 years ago. Didn't like it, left it. Had no desire to ever go back. And I got roped into a project I didn't want to be roped into, but I got roped into it anyway. Had to go back to Vietnam. So I flew into Saigon. What's it called? I can't even remember the name of the airport down there. It's the big international airport in Saigon. They call it Ho Chi Minh City now. Oh, how cute. Okay. Got off the plane, went to customs. I swear to God, it was a sea of humanity unlike anything I've ever seen except at a rock concert. My estimate was there were 3,000 people in that room with switchbacks back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It took me 90 minutes to get through customs. I would have got through sooner, but the Vietnamese cut the queues by the dozens. It's like whole families under the ropes, under the ropes, under the ropes. People grumbled at them, but they don't care because they don't understand queues in most of Southeast Asia. So I did 90 minutes in that hell. Got done. Went down. Went looking for my bag. Got a single bag. It was a carry-on, but they made me check it anyway. Vietnam Airlines. Yep. And couldn't find my bag. Went and found a surly guard/attendant kind of person and asked about where did the bags from flight such and such Vietnam Air, where did they get dumped? And he said, okay, carousel number 1. Okay. Wasn't supposed to be number 1, but whatever, that's what he said. So I walked all the way down to carousel number 1, spent 20 minutes rooting through their stuff, piles of bags, wasn't there. But okay, well, somebody stole it, All my cameras, all my computer, everything's all gone. And I kept rooting around, went to some other carousels, and oops, there it was, carousel 3, not even remotely connected to my flight. So, this is travel. This is how travel goes these days. It didn't used to be this bad. It is this bad now. And it could very well be that my traveling days are over. Got my bag. I had to walk to the other terminal down to domestic flights to get my connecting flight up to Cam Ranh. That's a little bit of a walk. That's not bad. A little bit of a walk when it's freaking 200 degrees outside, like the surface of Mercury. It's a gigantic international airport. They could make a little covered area. Nope, can't do that. No. Okay, so I got down there and went to the ticket counter. It's way down at the end. Just barely even a ticket counter. Got the ticket lady, gave her my electronic boarding pass. I needed the paper boarding pass. And she took my boarding pass off my phone and said, "Oh, just a minute, there's a problem." Okay, in bad English. So she took off. Now I only had, what did I have? I had 2 hours to do that connecting flight. 90 minutes of it was stuck in customs, okay? So she took off for parts unknown, left me standing there. 15 minutes she came back and said I could not board because Booking.com had somehow reversed my first and middle name on the ticket, so it wasn't in the same order as it was on my passport. Thank you, Booking.com, once again. So She said, she told me I had to go upstairs, up the stairs, no elevator, no nothing. Had to go upstairs to a window marked staff only. Okay. I knew this. I knew I was going to miss a flight. I knew it already. But I trudged upstairs and rooted around, found the window, found it was a doorway. It said staff only. It's the only thing marked staff only. And surprise, surprise, there was nobody there. Ah, what a surprise. What a surprise. She had just come from there. And they knew she was going to send me up, but they just left. They just totally deserted. So I walked in, maybe where I shouldn't have, and hollered around, hello, hello, hello. Opened a door, thought maybe it was a break room, lunchroom. Nope, nobody there. Nobody anywhere at all. So I walked back out, and I went to the main security desk and tried to explain to them that I had been told to go to the staff only window, but there was nobody at the staff only window. Now, in Vietnam, in most Southeast Asian countries, they take people who speak a little bit of English and they put them in positions where they're going to be dealing with English-speaking people. You know, how many countries speak English in the world? 93. How many countries speak Vietnamese? 1. So what would be the priority for airport workers? Okay, I'm not even going to go there. So I tried to explain to them what had happened. I don't think any of them understood what I was trying to say to them. Pretty soon I had a little gathering, and they were all trying to figure out what I was trying to say, and they were looking at my passport and looking at my boarding thing and looking at everything. And there was one guy who was particularly nasty, security guy, and he just barking commands at me, which I couldn't understand because I'm one of those 93 countries, that does not speak Vietnamese. And there was another woman there, a big, hefty, Olga type woman, and she started pointing at the regular security line, said, go, you go, you go. And I was saying, look, I'm not sure I'm supposed to go there. I'm supposed to go to this window over here, this little door over here. No, you go, you go. And as I was turning, looking at the place she was pointing at, she just shoved me. Just shoved me kind of medium hard. Okay, you go. Okay, lady, it's on you. So I went over there, and I had a backpack with a few cameras in it. I normally travel with about 8 or 9 different varieties of action cameras. And of course, lots of batteries. And in my carry-on, I had some more cameras and some more batteries, and also a laptop. And so we scanned that through, and of course it beeped. No, it didn't beep. The beep comes later. They rejected it back and said, okay, you take everything out of your backpack and your carry-on, and we'll run it through again. And so I started to do that, and I piled all my cameras into one tray. And they said, no, 1 camera, 1 tray. I said, what? There's 40 people behind me, and you want me to put 1 camera per tray? Really? That's what you want? You want 1 camera per tray? Yes, only 1 item per tray. So I grabbed a whole stack full of trays and put 1 camera in each tray, and they scanned each one through the machine, and then they piled them all up on the floor at the end of the machine. And then they invited me to go through the body scanner. So I walk through. I never get a beep. My watch is off, my wallet's off, everything is off. It's already been scanned. And get a timeout on that little screen. And so, so I beeped, and they hand wanded me, and they got to my belt area, and they started. It's really probably the most horrible woman I've encountered, possibly in my entire life. I'm not sure. A big, tall, huskily built Vietnamese woman. Take off belt! And I said, it's plastic. It's a special belt to go through the machines. It's plastic. There's no metal in it. Take off belt! All people, take off belt! I took off my belt. And by this time I was pissed. And I walked it. I held it in my hand, and I held it through the body scanner, and then back, and then through, and then back, and then through, and then back, to show her the belt was not the cause of any beeping whatsoever. And she said, no, must x-ray. So my pants are falling down, you know, like they do for half of us. And I put the belt in a separate tray, and they ran it through the x-ray machine. They're looking right at it. They can see it's a plastic belt. Simple as they get. But they had to run it through their x-ray machine, and of course it didn't beep. So instead of handing that back to me, they threw it into another tray nearby my stack at the end of the line. And then they invited me to go back through the body scanner, and something beeped as I went through the scanner. And so they started to hand wand me again, but they couldn't make the hand wand beep at all. So just probably equipment that's set a little too sensitive. And of course your shoes are off, and you know, you don't know if you're ever going to see your shoes again. And so finally they got tired of trying to make the hand wand beep. And they said, okay, go, you go. So I had to go get all of my trays. One of them had my wallet in it. The next one had my money belt in it. And they're all just laying around. And there's people everywhere, people milling around, because they're coming off the assembly line, you know, and their trays are getting dumped down there on the floor also. And you don't know what of your trays they've gotten into. Maybe my money belt's gone. Maybe my wallet's gone. Maybe my watch is gone. Don't know. And I had to take every tray I had. I don't know. I must have had 10 trays there with one item in them each. And reassemble my entire, everything I had. My backpack and my suitcase, and put my belt back on and pull my pants up. And by that time, it's like 1 minute to boarding. And it's quite a long way to the gate. So I'm hoofing it as fast as I can out the concourse, trying to find my gate. And I get there, sit down, and I sat down right exactly as the clock struck, you know, 1:20 or whatever the boarding time was. And I thought, okay, well, I made it. You know, I'm here right on time. I'm ready to board. And then we sat there, and we sat there, and we sat there some more. And a few minutes later, they changed the boarding time for 2 hours later than scheduled. So we all had to sit there for 2 more hours. And finally they did board. Luckily nobody was in my seat. So it's like an hour flight up to Cameron, no big deal. Got off, no big deal. And then the real horror started, you know, trying to work and live in Cameron, Vietnam. That's a subject of a whole bunch of other videos, but I swore 100 times I would never go back through Saigon Airport ever, not in this lifetime, not even as a corpse. And of course, it turned out that, I would go through. I'd rather go through Hanoi. I'd rather go through Bangkok. I'd rather go through China, and that's saying a lot. Nobody wants to go through China. But now that I'm leaving Vietnam forever, I will never, ever, ever come back to this place. The only flights we could get routed us through Saigon again. So I guess tomorrow. We've got to drive all the way to Saigon because we couldn't get a decent flight from Cam Ranh to Saigon. So we're driving to Saigon, like 6 hours, I think, tomorrow. And that will be a horror beyond description. That'll be a whole nother horror because everything in Saigon Airport is a horror. So the point kind of is that traveling around the world, it seems like every month it gets more and more silly. Just silly. It's just stupid and silly. Somewhere around 85% of the hoops that they make us jump through are unnecessary. They accomplish nothing. They're bullshit. They're stupid. Just a waste of everybody's time. 85% of the shit that we go through. But we got to keep going through it if we want to keep traveling. Well, I've traveled enough. I've been around the world 2.5 times. That's enough. I keep thinking I'm going to find a place that I really, really like and I want to settle there. No, not going to happen. I realize now it's not going to happen. Because you will never, ever fit into any country other than your own. You will never truly fit in unless you went there when you were young and you're fluent in the language and you're fluent in the culture, and then maybe kind of sort of, to a higher degree you can fit in and think of it as home. But otherwise it's never going to be home. Nothing is going to be home except your home. And after multiple decades of doing this all around the world, that's my conclusion, and I'm done. It could be that I will take little excursions from my home in the U.S., not very often, once a year. I'll pack only a backpack and no other luggage. God almighty. The people in charge of traveling have ruined travel. It's so absurd now that for me and for a growing number of people, it's not worth doing. Now, the airlines are still full. They're still making money hand over fist. And so they don't care. They don't care if I stop traveling. They don't care if a lot of us stop traveling. There's a sucker born every minute, P.T. Barnum. That's what he said. There's a sucker born every minute. Well, there's a sucker born every minute for the airlines. And that's how they're surviving, and that's how they're flourishing, on the sucker born every minute theory. But those of us who have knocked around enough, we're done. We're done with the airlines. We're done with the bullshit. We're done with the government crap. Security lines and customs, and they've all just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's at the point for me where I'm done. Done traveling. I'm done living around the world. It's enough. Thank you, airlines. And thank you, governments of little shitholes like Vietnam. And thank you for stupid, asinine, rude, pushy, obnoxious airport workers. Done. And that's a relief. Alrighty. That's my rant for today. Thank you very much, and good evening, and good night.